my friends, welcome back to a new video. Today I have a wonderful topic for anyone who's going through a hard day. Maybe you've been through something heavy, or maybe you're self-sabotaging, maybe you're feeling stuck a little bit because of certain things, or you just don't know what to do. I want to give you a reminder that will help you to realign yourself, get back on your feet, and recognize what to do with everything that you feel, everything you're thinking about, everything you're going through. There's always a reason behind everything. So firstly, to anyone who's worrying about anything right now, I want to remind you that everything will pass. Everything will pass. But what will stay is a certain degree of clarity that will help you to see reasons why it needed to happen. So faster you're able to get into that moment of clarity, faster you will realize why you needed to move through it, whatever you're moving through. And we just need to figure it out. We need to put pieces of ourselves back together. And to put pieces of ourselves back together, we firstly need to recognize what are pieces of ourselves. Who are we? What are pieces of myself? Because I know how easy it is to distract ourselves to such a degree that we forget who we are. We suddenly start to compare ourselves with others. We suddenly start to think through the lens of somebody else. And that's where we become quite negative about ourselves. So we need to be in the standpoint of ourselves, looking into the mirror, the reflection of ourselves, and being honest with what we see. Being honest with what we see. Don't try to be positive, don't try to be whatever, but just be honest with what you're seeing. And many thoughts may arise like, oh, I'm fat, oh, I'm ugly, oh, I'm stupid, oh, I'm this and that and blah blah blah. But it's still just your physical appearance, right? It's how you appear in this reflection. Sure, all these things may be reshaped, changed, and whatever, but it's the attitude where we are shaping ourselves the most, right? It's the attitude where we start shaping things. So what's the attitude you have towards yourself? Because that's where you start. Attitude, your attitude towards life is the foundation of your life, right? You can chase happiness, but happiness is what? Happens. Happiness is something that happens, but everything is fleeting, so you can be constantly chasing a tail and never completely finding it, right? Never getting it. That's happiness. But to stand in truth means being honest with yourself. That's how we start putting pieces together. You may say, well, I feel sad, I feel bad, I feel stuck, I feel miserable. Okay, that's completely okay. I want to remind you, it's okay to feel that. We all feel like that. We all feel these different sensations, especially right now. December is here, and December is, it's actually funny because December is usually the month of most depression for many people. Some people are forcing to buy gifts for others. Some people are sad because they're not surrounded with loved ones, and so on. So many interesting stories around that. But what's more interesting is that when it comes to gifting others, we should realize that we are the greatest gift for others. Your presence is the greatest gift for others. Not a gift that you give, but your presence that you give to others, right? But when you find yourself like, I'm being present with others, but I feel miserable, comes to the question, am I being a gift for myself? Am I present with myself? Am I living life in contentment, right? When was the last time I've experienced flow state in my life? Because what is flow? Flow follows focus. And focus follows awareness, and awareness follows your attention. So where's your attention? Where's your attention? Because when we feel bad, we have these patterns of self-sabotaging, right? And self-sabotaging is escaping from our own misery, or escaping from something that feels unpleasant, something that is hard to do. We like to escape from there. So we've developed all kinds of patterns, like sometimes you set some goals for yourself, or some to-do list, or something, that you want to achieve today. But because you don't know where to start, you go on the internet and start scrolling on different platforms, or you go and start looking what will you buy, or you go snacking something, right? So what helped me the most in my life is that I've identified my self-sabotaging patterns. I've identified my self-sabotaging patterns, and I've started laughing at myself because I've noticed how frequently I'm doing that. When there's something I need to do, and maybe I don't know where to start, or it feels hard, or I'm not really sure or clear about it, there's always a pattern that I repeat. What I was doing in the past, it was so interesting. Every time I had something to do that was unpleasant, I went on Amazon and started looking for new interesting books. That's what I was doing in the past. But then I've identified these different patterns. There were so many of them. Like procrastination. People say procrastination is because we are lazy, but procrastination is because we don't know where to start. If we would have clarity around these tiny little steps we can do, one step at a time will make work done, right? So when we recognize that all this procrastination and all these other sabotaging patterns come from a lack of clarity, that comes from not taking time to understand yourself, leads to a type of meditation. Isn't it already a meditative practice where we sit down with ourselves and we become truthful towards ourselves? And that's honesty. That's an honest relationship you can build with yourself. And when you do that, my friend, I can promise you that clarity will start taking place, and you will start reading your own behaviors. And isn't that true that we are all here a work in progress? But there's also another truth, that within the spirit we are already perfect. So there's this constant motion between being in the spirit and feeling complete flow of life, feeling complete connection to life, feeling perfectly connected to life, and being kinda partially disconnected and feeling imperfect and feeling unbalanced and feeling like we're not enough, feeling like we're miserable. So there's constant motion, and we're all going through this motion. It's completely natural thing. Like when tree let goes of its leaves, a leaf will separate itself from its source. But what happens, it falls down onto the surface, maybe wind blows it away a little bit, it goes, falls down onto the surface, and eventually through the process of degradation, it becomes a part of the soil, and soil becomes also a food for the tree, right? But at the same time, it leaves seeds in the soil, so eventually a new tree can be born out of it. So you see, when you feel the most separated, you're actually in this process of degradation. where a part of you is falling apart, but becoming a fuel for the spirit to rise up brighter, smarter, wiser, and stronger. So when you find yourself having this harder period of your life, you need to realize that it's not a punishment. You may feel depressed, but don't define yourself as being depressed until you recognize that you are actually depressed. Because there are so many different negative emotions we may experience, but if we don't articulate them correctly, we may say, well, I just feel depressed. Or you may feel anxious. And anxiety is not a bad thing, like experiencing too many emotions at the same time. Nothing wrong with that. One step at a time. Identify one at a time. Be content with yourself. But then, at some point, you need to realize that life is all about flow. Flow is motion. And motion requires certain direction. And when we get a certain sense of direction, we also get purpose. I want to get there. This is purpose. So make sure that when you're choosing a sense of direction, you're choosing a sense of direction based by something you love to do, by something you like to do. That will awaken a sense of passion. And passion gets you into the flow state. So I don't mean flow state, this athlete kind of the zone thing. I mean flow state, a motion that keeps you moving forward, that keeps you motivated just enough to make another step. Because I can only tell you from my own experiences, when you start doing something, you may say something you love to do, something you're passionate about, it's not like 100% passion. Like what I'm doing, and I know in the past I wasn't able, or I was not precise enough in my own articulation of that. Like when I say to you I'm doing what I'm passionate about, but it's actually only 20% of what I'm passionate about. Everything else is what feeds this passion. So it's like 20% of the passion and 80% of the other work that feeds the passion. Like learning, growing, education, trials of errors, answering emails, editing videos, taking care of different platforms, and managing everything, and taking care of my life and my family and so on. So it's 80% of other things that feed the passion, but then passion feeds this 80% of other, part of the life. So when we understand that, we don't look at our lives like, oh, I should only do what I love to do. You should aim towards doing what you love to do. But you should also do everything else that allows you to do what you love to do. And that's when you will become the most fulfilled. Actually, psychology says that people who invest 20% of their time into their passions are people who thrive the most in their lives, at their jobs, and they are much happier and they make much more money. So that is a great reminder for many of us, especially as we're moving through this December, and many people in December are reflecting on their past and making some goals and visions for the next year. I want to remind you, don't set just goals for the next year, but actually turn yourself towards your future self and decide what you will stay devoted to, so your future self can be proud of yourself today and from today every single day. Make this connection with your future self and ask your future self what it takes for me to get to where you are. in that certain potential future, what it takes for me to get there. And your future self is already where you are dreaming about being. But what my future self reminded me, it's not about, having these big goals. It's about being of service, firstly to myself. And it means to live my life the way that I am thriving. Because when I am thriving, I can be a bright light for others. I can enlighten the path, so those who may feel maybe a bit more lost or a bit more stuck can see it. So they can aim towards it, and eventually they can become a bright light for others as well. And that's how we get enlightened, right? It's not about reading the philosophy and spiritual literature and whatever. Sure, it's about learning from there. But everything comes then to this moment of awakening, where you awaken to your senses and you allow yourself to feel what you're experiencing through your senses, whatever it is. And then you accept it, because if it's in your sensual experience, it's not bad. It's because it was kinda stuck in your system, or it was gathered in your system. Everything you sense is something from your past and something from your present life. But then to manage it wisely and to make something out of it will make your life incredible. Because you will notice that in pain, clarity will find meaning. In struggles, clarity will find wisdom. In fear, clarity will find courage. And in resentment, clarity will find forgiveness. And once you know that, all you will ever look for is clarity. And when you look for clarity, clarity will guide you towards itself. So I want to invite you to take time so clarity can take place. And if you're wondering how to do that, well, close your eyes, disconnect from the world for a moment, and just listen to yourself. Just listen to yourself until you hear nothing else but quietness. Sometimes it may take time, but be patient with yourself. And everything will make sense, my friend. This is it for today. I hope you found something valuable today. I want to say thanks to everyone for joining our Patreon community, and also thanks to all of you for supporting my art in our Etsy store. I Draw My Passion. You're all truly appreciated. Have a beautiful day, and till next time, one love.